Joining me is Nova Eden, children's mental health advocate. A very good morning to you, Nova.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Thank you for being with us. I suppose I just wanted to start, Nova, by getting your view on home education and how you think it either benefits or doesn't children's mental health.
Well, I think as we heard there, the latest government figures are suggesting that the main reason for the rise in homeschooling is, the mental health issues that we're seeing. And, my opinion is that tech companies have rewired childhood and sort of changed human development on a huge scale. And it is causing an epidemic of mental health illness in young children. We know that, smartphones and social media have been identified as the biggest contributing factors to the rising levels of anxiety, depression, and self-harm and suicide rates in children. And more children are showing signs of neurodiversity, which is linked to excessive screen time. So, it's very worrying, the figures. I think there's obviously an underlying issue here that we really need to address.
So I just want to link the two, if I may. In your view, is having children out of the school system and perhaps out of a space in which there is peer pressure to be on social media or have phones or be engaged in that kind of socializing, is it better then? Is it more helpful?
I think what we're seeing here is that sort of rates of school loneliness have doubled since 2012 worldwide. I think kids are spending hours alone on their devices instead of pursuing healthy activities of childhood, play, fresh air, exercise, reading, time with family. So I think it's really affecting children, and we need to see some significant changes at schools. We need to support struggling parents who feel pressured to conform to the social norm of giving their children sort of smartphones and social media. I think that a lot of parents that choose to homeschool probably do it because they want to preserve childhood. And I think that really is, the main issue that we're seeing. We want children to reclaim childhood and have more sort of, healthy, balanced lifestyle.
I mean, there is also an argument to be made that people home educate their children because they don't think the school system is good enough or is equipped enough. And we've been talking over the last few years about teacher strikes, about budget cuts, about lack of resource, about crumbling schools physically crumbling when children are in it. There is an argument to be said that actually school doesn't benefit everyone. Take out kind of the effect that technology and social media and phones are having on children's mental health. There's still an argument to say that children are being taken out of school because parents don't think the school system's good enough.
I think there's, some very valid points. I think that they are struggling to deal with the increase in supporting children who are showing signs of neurodiversity. So yes, I think lots of valid points there. I agree.
Oh, okay. Yes, fine. Very good. And I only say that, full disclosure, I was home educated. And at a time when, and I always feel like when I'm talking about home education, I somehow have to disclose that. And it was at a time, of course, when we didn't have mobile phones. So the mobile phones and the impact of tech on kids, it wasn't a thing then. It didn't exist. But I was taken out of school when I was 5, I want to say. And I was home educated up until I went back into the system for A-levels at sixth form. So from about the age of 5 to 16 years old. It's a huge amount of time to be out of the education system. And it was for no reason to do. So I just understand out there that there are parents who think, actually, this isn't benefiting my child specifically. And not every kid learns the same, I assume, Nova. And there are different and better techniques for children depending on how they process information.
Yeah, absolutely. And some children would thrive in an environment where they are, doing the healthy activities that I suggested. And I think that as long as they're socializing and keeping in touch with children, I think that there can be benefits to homeschooling. But I think that we really need to look at, the underlying issues that are happening at the moment. I think that the increase in the numbers for children who are homeschooling, I think that's, obviously definitely linked to the mental health issues. I think that Gen Z are growing up in an uncontrolled experiment at the moment, and it is very worrying.
Do you think as well, because of, and I wonder with your work that you do running kind of smartphone free campaigns, just that point about smartphones and being in school, is there more bullying happening, or because it's happening online, and is that a factor?
Yeah, absolutely. So bullying has increased significantly. According to Ofcom, 84% of bullying is now happening online. So not only are children having issues in school with bullying, but they're also going home and it's continuing into the evenings when they're on their devices. So that plays a huge part in what's happening. And part of our campaign, we are trying to make sure that we're removing, smartphones and social media from schools, because we really want to make sure that children are having 7 to 9 hours a day, free from smartphones and social media, free from the pressures of what's happening online, because we know it's much healthier for children.
I just found your point really interesting about reclaiming childhood. And I know, Nova, you run campaigns to have smartphone-free schools. I wonder if, let's say, in your dream world, every school implemented that, and the minute you passed into the school gates, there was no smartphones. Do you think that would change childhood? And do you think less people would take their kids out of school to home educate them if every school was a smartphone-free zone?
Absolutely. We know that head teachers have told us that they have noticed a transformative change in their children for those schools that have implemented smartphone-free policies. There are less issues arising with bullying and all the other traumas and tragedies which are happening online, short attention spans, grooming, chronic social comparison, which is really affecting the young girls. So yes, we know that the teachers and head teachers are seeing a significant change, and children shouldn't have be taking a device into school which is incompatible with child safety. This is about really enforcing just a legitimate boundary with what should be acceptable on school premises, something that probably should have been in place all along.
Okay, and how is your campaigns going for smartphone-free schools? Who are susceptible to it, specifically in London?
Well, I mean, it's the fastest growing grassroots movement that's sort of ever happened. I mean, we have a groundswell of support from hundreds of thousands of parents all over the country, joining up together to encourage parents to delay smartphones and social media in children. We've also seen lots of schools and consortiums now collaborating together to encourage parents to not allow children to have smartphones and social media before the age of 16. And I mean, the support out there, I think that, parents are really, really struggling. We've been put into an impossible position by tech companies as we all feel pressured to conform to the social norm of giving our children these devices. And, the parents need help. And I'm delighted to say that the head teachers are really listening to us now. And it feels great to have, such amazing leadership and support, especially here in North London. We've seen a significant amount of head teachers change their policy. We have now over 75 smartphone-free schools in North London. It really is taking off and moving at a speed which is phenomenal. And I really hope that this is a huge milestone in helping to protect children's mental health and making sure that we can keep them in a safe environment in schools, and we can make sure that they are having the childhood that they deserve.
Nova, what's the reaction from kids when they say the school's now going to be smartphone free?
Well, I think that kids are really struggling. There's been a lot of evidence on, how these children are feeling with the pressures of smartphones. And
sure, but what do they say about it? Because my instinct is that they're annoyed immediately.
Well, yes, initially, of course, they're not happy because they are very addicted to their devices. But I think that, you can see a transformative change in these children, and some of them, especially the children. I mean, these teenagers now, we know they're spending 9 hours a day on screens on average. They're spending 5 hours a day on social media on average. And I think that, these children are desperate for help. They don't really know how to go about it. And of course, at first, they're not happy, but they are seeing signs of feeling much happier when they're not on these devices. So okay. It's a difficult conversation for us parents to have with the children. But I think that now we can inform our children that, a decade ago when we were giving children smartphones and social media, we didn't really understand the impact.
Do your children have mobiles, Nova?
So I made the mistake of giving my eldest son a smartphone. He was in year 6. He came to me telling me, like many other children do to their parents, that everyone was getting smartphones. So yes, I made the mistake, and I realized very quickly what I had done. I think that if you want to sort of end your son or daughter's childhood, I think, give them a smartphone, because suddenly they become...
Does he still have it?
No, he does not. And, interestingly enough, he had a sleepover on the weekend, and he had some friends over, and I took away their smartphones in the evening, because I'm very strict, obviously, in the house with the rules. And in the morning, one of his friends said to me, thank you so much for taking my phone away from me. I'm so glad, because we had so much fun last night. And I know that if I'd had my smartphone, I probably would have just been staring at it all night. So I think that really goes to show how these children are feeling.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting. I'm sure we'll speak again. Nova Eden, I appreciate your time and your insights. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me.